I hope everyone can hear me. Welcome everyone again to Aria Systems webinar. Today we'll talk about the email notifications and the new Aria Request Builder feature. Basically, this new Request Builder module has been designed recently from the ground up to satisfy several functionality or business needs specifically related to scheduling reports and to sending automatic email notifications to the user or to your customers outside the company. So I'm gonna start discussing the main features in that we'll discuss today. The first slide is actually covering the key features and the main topics we'll talk about today. We'll talk about types of email functionalities available in Aria systems. We'll talk about how to set up the email functionality in the company setup, which is very crucial to enable this functionality across the system. We'll talk about how to override the company's default for a specific user profile. So instead of using the company default sender email address and ID, we can use a specific user's profile email address and SMTP user ID. We'll talk about setting up email notification templates in the message template screen, which is one of the new screens done in the Request Builder module. Then we'll talk about how to send reports from the option grid, which is actually a feature available today, and many of you may be already aware of it in the current reports in Aria. However, we are gonna discuss that feature as well for anyone who is not aware of that. Next, we'll discuss how to send the forms like invoice form, order confirmation, or credit memo form directly from the related transaction screen manually at the time that you would like to send it. Then we'll discuss how to set up automatic email notifications of the forms and the different reports available in the system, which is part of the Request Builder module functionality. And finally, we'll discuss how to set up automatic event notification from the Request Builder. And the event notifications here can refer to any kind of workflow through the system, like examples: a sales order is edited, an invoice is issued, sales order is cancelled, etc. So our very first topic is to talk about types of email functionalities available in Aria systems. And Aria XP has mainly two types of email functionality, either on demand or manually triggered by the user. And this is a function that we have had a while ago, and many of you might be already using it, which is how to email the report or how to email the screen forms directly by sending the email recipient button. The second type of email functionality is automatically, and this is the new part that we have developed recently via the Request Builder functionality. And this is having a very advanced options to allow the user to set up how he would like to email reports and forms, either based on a scheduler on certain intervals or based on a specific events triggered by a workflow in the system. So we'll cover these two types today, either the manual or on-demand emailing of reports and forms, and the second is the automatic setup of email and forms attachment by email via the Request Builder setup. So now we'll talk about the very first step, which is how to set up the email functionality in the company setup. and this is done from the System Manager module within Aria 2.7 interface. And this step is very crucial to activate the whole email functionality in the system. Without these parameters being set up correctly, the email functionality will not be available or will not work properly. So everyone who's using Aria now might notice that they have the icon of sending the reports or the forms by email, but it maybe doesn't work or it gives an error or whatever. If you face this problem, so most likely the main reason is because the email server parameters are not yet set up in your company. So that's what we are going to discuss now, and I'm going to show you visually how to adjust these settings and to make sure your email server is set up correctly. So to show you that visually on the screen, I'm going to open up the Aria 2.7 interface, which I have it here open already. Again, this is done via the System Manager module under File, Company Setup, Company Information. Then you select your active company, the company that is being used and refers to the related database. Of course, if you edit the company information first, you go to the Setup tab, and you will see all the way down a group of new parameters related to the SMTP server setup and parameters. The first parameter is the SMTP server name, and this corresponds to your Exchange server or to your Gmail server name. The port number, the user ID who will be connected or who will be used to connect your email server along with the password. And then you can choose a user, a sender email address and a sender name where all the outgoing transaction or all the outgoing emails and notifications will have this sender name and email by default, unless otherwise, as we'll discuss later, it can be overridden by the user profile. Finally, last parameter, either or not your email server is using a secure socket layer, which is SSL, which usually by default is set to yes. And generally speaking, your IT administrator should have this information available if you don't have it. So if you talk to your IT guys or if it's managed by someone else, they should provide you this server specific information. Plus, you will have to decide on what user ID and password to use to connect to the email server. The current parameter used now for demo is basically for a Gmail. So if you are using a Gmail email host, usually this information will be true for the server name and the SMTP port. So now this is the very first step. I'm going to save this setup parameters. And now we will talk about the second step, which is overriding or how to override the company's default email setup based on a specific user profile. And this is what we are seeing now on this slide. We'll discuss the ability of how to set up a user level SMTP user ID and password, and to set up a user level email address which will be used as an outgoing email address to initiate any email notifications or report attachment that you would like to send by email. So to show you this feature on the screen, this is also done through Aria 2.7 System Manager module. If you go to the file, user profile, in that screen, as many of you might be aware, this is a screen where you set up your user credential who will log into the Aria XP or to the Aria, any Aria application, Aria EDI, etc. So from this user profile screen, we have the ability now to set up an SMTP user ID, email address, and password. Those three parameters must be valid and must be presented on that user level or on that user profile for Aria to be able to override the default company setup and instead use that user profile to send the outgoing notifications or messages. If the user have nothing available or no data is entered here, by default the system will fall back to the company setup parameter that we saw a few minutes ago, and any email notification or report attachment sent by email will by default use the company level outgoing email address. So this is the part related to the system manager, which usually it's recommended to be done by a system administrator or someone who really have access to the system manager to make sure he put in the right information and set up the users the right way. So now I'm gonna move to the next slide in our presentation. In this section, we will discuss how to set up email notification templates based on a message template, and this is part of the new request builder module that has recently been designed or redesigned, we can say, and it will be available in the near future on our production server for the SaaS customers. So the message template screen is basically allowing you to design an email template, and this email template or this message template can be used automatically whenever you send a recurring forms or documents. Example, you are sending the customer their customer statement every month, or you are sending the invoices whenever an order is invoiced. So in that case, you can design a message template, and instead of writing or rewriting the email again and again every time, you will use that message template, and this will be saved and memorized for you to use whenever you want for a specific event or for a specific form types, as we'll see down the road. The templates or the message template can be designed in a generic or in a flexible way to allow you add on a data objects or option grid objects. And as we'll see on the screen in a minute, data objects are virtually any database field available in Aria. So for example, if you are sending an order confirmation, you can put as part of the body of your message, you can put the sales order number, the completion date of the order, the customer name, etc. Any field or any piece of information that is available on the corresponding database will be actually available to be entered as part of the message template. The second option is the option grid objects, and this will be applicable if you are sending a report attachment or a form attachment like the invoice form, the customer statement, any other report that you would like to send to your client or to your user. So in that case, the system will allow you to enter any of the option grid filter criteria that you selected as part of the email message. So this way, when you send your customer a statement, for example, you can include in the message belongs to the month of August or it belongs to the month of July. So you can put from to, and this will be generically added as information to your message based on the criteria that you selected. Second feature that the message template screen is giving you is the ability to preset the recipient email address to CC or BCC. So you can, in advance, you can set up on the message template, you can set up who are the recipients of this email. Usually, if you are sending a customer statement, for instance, you know that you are sending that to your AR or to your customer accounts payable email, for example, or you send it to a specific person. So instead of memorizing this email address and have to write it every time you run the report, you can save this email address in the message template screen, and it will be recalled or it will be retrieved whenever you use the same message template for the related, sending a statement, sending an invoice form, etc. You can also put any text as a subject and as a message body. Then next key feature is to allow you integrate or add on data objects generically to the message body or to the message subject, as we'll see now during the demo. And this is also a great feature, so you don't have to type manually any information that varies or that change from one email to another. So if you are sending a customer statement to customer ABC, when you send that email to that customer, the system automatically can know the name of that customer or the account code. If you send the same report using the same template to customer XYZ, the system will be able to recognize the customer code generically for the related customer based on the data object that you selected. Next feature is the ability to use special fields in the message body, and this is mainly a system defined fields that can complement that feature of building your message templates. So I'm gonna go over these features visually on the screen to show you how they work. This part is, as I mentioned in the beginning, is done in Aria XP, and now we do have a beta version of that. The path for this would be under Master Data, Users menu, then Message Template. So again, the message template, as mentioned on the slideshow briefly, it allows you to use either data object or option grid objects to build up your message template. And examples could be indefinite, so you can use virtually any data field or any information available across the system in the sales order file, in the invoice file, in the customer file, etc. So if we took that example of a data template message, or of a data message template, it can be linked to, for example, the accounts receivable invoice header or the account receivable invoice detail. And from there you can link to that message body any field actually that is virtually available in the database from the related object name selected. So now in that example I'm showing you on the screen, I selected the accounts receivable invoice header. So all the data fields shown up here in the lower part of the screen is actually all the fields available in the invoice, and you can simply, when you are editing or when you are building up your message template, you can simply drag and drop any of those fields and take it to the left hand side to be part of the message body. So let us say here I designed my template. I want to show the invoice number in the subject. So the invoice number will be a variable or will be a data object taken from the right hand side from all the object list. If I want, let us say I want to say dear customer, and I want the system to automatically put the customer code or the customer name. So simply I want to look up for the customer code from the data object, drag and drop it, and this will be a variable that will be generically used or filled up by the system depending on what customer, or depending on actually the record I'm sending to the customer, it belongs to which account. Same goes for any field available in the database. So the invoice number can be part of your message body, the ship date can be part of your message body, and so on and so forth. Customer PO, let us say if you would like to refer to your customer PO number within your email notification to the customer. So all these are examples of data objects and how to use them generically in the message template. Of course, you can set up the recipient's or the default recipient's email address to CC and BCC like any regular email template. You can put that in advance, and that will be associated to that message template, and whenever you use that message template, automatically the system recalls the same addressees or the same recipients for that message. The other type of message template is based on an option grid, and this one, the main difference between the option grid message template and the data message template, the option grid is really helpful or good whenever you are sending a report. So the report criteria might be changeable or changing from time to time, or every time you send the report you want your recipient to know what is the criteria of that report. So that's when you choose a message template based on option grid, and in that case the system will virtually allow you to select the report from the object name, and down there it will be all the parameters or all the filter criteria available in that report to be able to drag and drop it, the same idea, drag and drop it to your message body or to your message subject, and this way generically the system will indicate what is the report criteria every time you send that email message. So this example, for instance, is a report that we have for the demo purpose, the codes report. So the subject, I'm gonna put any subject I would like to use. Your report is ready, and then in the body I can use some of the criteria available in that report, like the report optional title, like the report criteria, the date range between whether that report is for a specific customer, and so on and so forth. Virtually any criteria that you select in your regular Aria reports. So once you save that template, the system will basically save the recipient names or an address, and will save the variables that you choose from the data object. And every time you use that message template, the system will generically fill up the information for you based on the data object or the option grid object that you use. So far I showed you how to enter or how to create a message template depending on option grid, and how to enter a message template depending on any database or any data object in the system. And each type will be used in the proper way that you would like to implement this. So if you are just sending notifications to customer or to users when certain event happens, then it's usually recommended to use data object template. If you are sending a report and you would like to include the report's criteria or the report name, then it's recommended to use a message template based on an option grid. So this is the part for the message template and how to design them in a way that can serve your needs and that can eliminate the redundancy and retyping the information that might be already in the system. So now moving to the next slide. Actually, next slide is talking about how to email reports from the regular option grid in the report, how to send any report or form as an attachment, use a customer, a vendor, or any personal contact list, ability to select the attachment type as a PDF or as an Excel sheet, then the main feature of having the ability to send the report on demand at the time that you choose to the person or to the recipients that you choose. So many of you might be already using this feature, but I'm still gonna show it to you in case if someone doesn't know about it. And we actually added some enhancement to that specific functionality. So if we are in any report in Aria. Let us say the order confirmation print out. So I'm going to go here. I have it as a shortcut under my favorites. If I go to the order confirmation form, the regular screen will open up. You will customize your criteria. You will select what order, what status you'd like to print, etc., etc. Once you do that, and instead of printing the report the regular way or saving it manually, now you can simply click on that icon, which is looking like an email and attachment, mail recipient as an attachment. And when you click on that icon, the system automatically opens up for you the message template that you can use, and it will further allow you to change the type of the attachment, either as Excel or as PDF. Generally speaking, PDF type is more flexible or more recommended in case if you are sending forms like invoice form, credit memo form, etc. So this way the form can retain the graphical interface and return the same shape on the same feeling of the original form. Now you can here choose the two. Actually, let me show you that. You can choose the two from any of the contacts that you have. So you can choose it from the customer contacts that you already build up on your customer master database. You can choose it from the vendor, or you can choose it from the personal contacts. So here, of course, if you would like to use that method, then you have to select a customer code, and then that customer will, or that selection will pull all the contacts available for that specific customer, so you can select it, and thus the email address related to that customer will show up directly on the message that you are addressing to that person. This is one way, which is the easiest way to send reports, and this is usually what we call it on-demand or manual sending. So every time you choose when to send the message and to who, you have control to whom you are sending it. The second step, as we'll see down the road in the demo, is when you need to set up the message template to be directly sent to a certain addressees or to a certain recipient based on a certain intervals or events. So now this is the message showing that the form has been successfully sent. It gives you the option to save a copy of the PDF report locally. If no, then the message is already sent, and if I show you here, if I check my email quickly, it will show you the related message that have been generated. Here it is. So that will be a regular email, and the attachment of the email will have the report that you were in, that you required the system to send an attachment to the proper recipient. So this is available actually in the invoice form as well. So the same exact feature is available in the invoice printout, is available in the customer statement, or virtually any report in Aria would have the same toolbar icon to email recipient as an attachment. Related to this topic, before we move on to the next automatic feature, there is a very important feature that have been added to complement this feature, which is on the customer master or the vendor master. You can now set up a default address to be used as a recipient to each document. So let me show you what I mean. So I pulled here this customer Montana, let's say, and if I edit and I go to options, now there is a new option added, which is document email recipients. This option is basically to allow you choose each form available in the system, like customer statement, invoice form, order confirmation form, etc., and choose a default recipient email address that automatically, when you use that form or when you send that form by email, it automatically will use that email address by default. And this is again could be helpful in case if you are if you prefer to use the manual way of emailing the forms. So whenever you like to send the customer statement, the system automatically looks up which account you are selecting. If it's set up already with a predefined email addresses, then it will use those email addresses as the recipient email address. So this part is helpful in case if you are sending a recurring forms like invoices, customer statements, purchase orders, etc. So the same feature available likewise in the vendor screen, and you can set that up to have each vendor have a default email address to represent who will be receiving, for example, the purchase order in that case for the vendor. So the same function available, documents, email recipient. If we click that, from the vendor standpoint, we can set up a default email address for the purchase order, for the cutting ticket form, for the material purchase order, and so on. So same thing, you can click new and you can add a default email recipient to receive the related document type. So again, this feature complements the manual way of sending the reports directly from the option grid, or as we'll see now, it will also complement the feature of sending the forms directly from the related screen. This is also a feature that has been available for a while. Maybe some of you is already aware of. So to email or to send forms directly from the transaction screen, this is available typically in any screen that have a related form like the sales order. It has an order confirmation form, invoice form, credit memo, or style purchase order. So if let us say I am in the sales order inquiry screen, the regular screen where you enter or you input your sales orders. I will just pull up any sales order that I would like to email or to send to somebody. So after you pull up the sales order and you are sure that this information is the one that you want to send, you click here on that icon. Again, it looks like an email and an attachment. Send the screen report by email. When you click on that, it will open up the same dialog box where you can choose the default recipient, the default message body, etc. The new feature that have been added here is basically it now lets you select a message template from the one that we designed in the first place. So remember that in few minutes ago in the beginning of the session, I showed you how to set up a message template. So that's how you can use this message template, or this is actually one of the usage that you can use the message template, and automatically the system recalls the addressees or the recipients who will be receiving this message. It recalls the message subject and the message body. And here, this is what I was discussing a few minutes ago, that the system generically will add the customer code, the order completion date, the order number, etc., generically based on the object types or based on the data elements that you added to this message. So once you verify, as you can see in a click of a button, once you select your message template, everything is filled up for you. So you just need to click the send button and no need to retype or re-enter any information. Everything is actually taken from the sales order that you are inquiring. Same goes if you apply the same concept to any other form. Like if you are in the invoice screen, you can choose a message template suitable for the invoice. If you are in the purchase order, you can use another message template suitable for the style PO, and so on and so forth. So the whole idea that using this message templates is avoiding the redundancy or avoiding typing the information manually by simply saving this as a template, and then the system will allow you to use that message template at any time, no matter what the transaction, no matter what the sales order number or the invoice, and it automatically fill up the information for you. So back to our slideshow. So far we covered how to email reports directly from the report option grid, and how to email the forms like invoice form, sales order form, credit memo, style PO, etc. How to email it directly using a message template and directly on demand from the screen that you are inquiring. Let me check the chat if anyone, by the way, if anyone have any question, please feel free to type it on the chat board and I'll be able to see it, and we'll have like 15 minutes at the end of the session to discuss everyone's question. So if you are on the GoToMeeting, please feel free to put any question, write it down, and I'll be able to get back to it at the end of the session. So what we'll talk about now is how to use the request builder wizard to set up automatic email notifications or automatic emailing of forms and reports. The request builder wizard actually gives you the ability to set up a report request based on any of these main parameters, based on a specific event, based on a scheduler intervals, or based on an agent. The event example could be like sales order is edited, or invoice is issued, or sales order is invoiced. All of these are examples of events that the system can automatically trigger the related email notification to the required or to the desired recipients. The second type is generating a report request based on a scheduler, and this is, I am sure many of you have asked for it before, and it's a feature that was really required to be able to schedule the report based on certain intervals, like you need a certain report to run on daily basis, or you need a report to be run on weekly basis, etc. So you would like to schedule the report, set it up, and the system from the back end or in the background will automatically generate the report based on that scheduler. The last type is to trigger the report notifications or the report request based on an agent, and the agent here is actually a combination of an event and a scheduler. So I'm going to show you that on the screen, but just to give you a brief idea of what business scenarios this could be used for. It's typically, let us say, if you want to send your customers all the activities that happen during the week on their orders. So every week you would like the system to generate email notification to tell the customer what orders have been invoiced, for instance. So this could be a combination of an action or a response to an event, and in the same time every certain interval, every week, every month, every day, as you set up the schedule. So the system will simply generate notification based on the condition that you set up and send it to the desired recipient, again depending on the event trigger and depending on the scheduler interval that you choose. Other key features that the request builder have is the ability to set conditions for the event trigger. So as I mentioned briefly, you can put the condition, or you can tell the system what conditions the system will send email notifications based on. So again, this condition could be simply any order that has been invoiced between a time or a date range, any order that has been canceled for a specific account, or any invoice has been voided. Let us say if accounting department wants to control the voiding process, so they want to be alerted right away whenever a sales order or an invoice is canceled or voided, so they can set up a notification system from that screen to be alerted directly whenever such event happens. The other main feature is to set a scheduler, and as I mentioned also, this is an important feature to let you set either reports or notifications to be triggered and to be sent based on a scheduler basis, like every day, every week, every hour, based on the scheduler intervals. And finally, to ability to send the report criteria and to decide the report output type. So you can include, as part of your email notification, you can include the filter criteria that you selected, and of course choose the message template that you selected from the beginning to be used for sending that email notification or that report. So let me show you that on the screen, and again this is part of the new request builder module from master data, users and request builder. The request builder wizard is actually letting you design your request based on any of these parameters as we mentioned. So first you give it a name. For instance, if I want to notify the customer with any canceled order or voided invoice, so I'm gonna give it a name, order is canceled. And here we can choose of any of these four types. Immediate, meaning that the notification or the report will be sent only one time upon request or based on upon finalizing that request. If we choose the notification is based or response to an event, then you can set up the event type that you would like the system to trigger the related email notification. You can furthermore, you can choose the report request based on a scheduler basis, and then you will be able, as we will see, to set up the scheduler intervals every day, every week, etc. Or finally, the last main type of the report request builder is to be based on an agent. And again, the terminology agent means it's based on both a certain event or condition plus a scheduler basis. So let us start with response to event. Let us see what features we have. If you just click next, then the system will take you to the next screen where you set up the event. And here the object name is virtually giving you any transaction or actually any database in the system. So if I locate, for instance, the sales order database, so this would be my base or my object name that I want to use to trigger the events. So here let us see what we have. We can choose one of these three events for the sales order: before it's deleted, when it's inserted, or when we update a sales order. So based on any of these three events, the system can issue a notification and send it to a designated recipient or email address based on what you set up in that step. Furthermore, under the condition builder, you can set up a more advanced criteria for that notification. So let us say you want to send to the customer only the orders belonging to them. So I can simply look for the customer name or the customer code that I would like to filter based on. So here let me see if I have a customer code. Here it is. So I'm gonna put my condition customer code equal certain value. So every time the system have a new sales order, when it's deleted or canceled, it will check if it's for the client or for the customer code Monta. Then that's a trigger for the system to initiate the sales order notification being sent. So as you can see, you can think about it in an indefinite way, indefinite possibilities that you can set up your conditions based on customer code, based on a certain completion date, based on a specific sales rep, let us say. All of these are things that you can choose to customize your filter, and thus the system will initiate the trigger or the event name will be based on these conditions. So this example, again, giving you an example of that you want to send a notification to someone, to the customer or to the sales rep, whatever, whenever a sales order is deleted for a specific customer code. So now next is the action to be taken, and here you can simply just send a notification if you did not select anything, meaning that the system will simply send an email notification to the designated recipient and will tell them that sales order XYZ whatever has been canceled. Or you can furthermore, you can select a report, and within that screen you are able to set up the required report to be attached to that email notification. So this report could eventually be any form like the order confirmation, the invoice form, the credit memo, etc., etc. So far, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is our first beta version, so not all the reports are as of now available, but eventually in the coming, I would say, weeks or so, we would have the majority of the reports in the system available. So again, if I just want to send a notification, you can leave the action blank. There is no specific report. And here you can finally, in the notification section, you can select what message template to use. And this is the message that we set up in the beginning under the message templates. And that, as you can see, it will automatically retrieve the recipient email address and the body and the subject of the message, and add on or fill up for you the related variables for that specific message. So once you do that, supposedly a sales order that match the conditions that we set up, which is customer code equal monta, let us say any sales order will be deleted or canceled. Automatically the system will trigger the event and will know that the system has to send a notification based on the message template that we choose. So just to avoid wasting time too much in that, if let us say I pulled up any customer that matches the criteria, and let us say anyone at any time they chose to cancel that order, if the trigger or if the message is set up to trigger the event and thus the notification based on the cancellation, then at this moment an email will be sent to the required customer or user with notifying them that this order is canceled. Or if the message event was just simply to tell them that a sales order has been updated. So all of these will be sent. As you can see, the email message will arrive telling you that this sales order has been updated, this sales order has been canceled, etc., etc. So this is an example of how the email notifications get triggered, and you have control on how to design the events or the condition that satisfy this notification or this request. Same thing can be done or can be applicable to numerous business scenarios. As I mentioned, if I show you here some of the examples that I have. So here I entered one of the request builder to be based on a specific customer code. Others can be based on cancellation. Whenever a sales order is canceled, let us say I want to notify the sales rep. So all of these are examples you can set up using the criteria that I mentioned, and using any of those categories of the request builder, either based a response to an event, based on a scheduler basis, or based on an agent which actually combines a condition and a specific scheduler basis. So here, let me show you the other type, notify rep of changes in sales order. So that could be a good example, that you have sales rep in your company and you would like them to be notified or to be alerted whenever a sales order belonging to them has been changed. So you can choose that as an example, and you can choose here an agent type, and agent will actually let you choose a data object. Again, data object means sales order, invoice, any other tables or database available in the system. So let me choose the same example based on the sales order header. Then furthermore, you can set up your condition, and the condition could be a sales rep, could be a customer code, etc., etc. So I want the sales rep to be matching certain values, so you can choose that from here. Sales rep or ship to address, whatever. Yeah, it's just a matter of you have to be precise and you have to select your required field that you would like to filter based on. Alright, so here is the sales rep code. So my condition would be equal HSE or whatever the sales code is. This is just an example for demo. So the system, whenever a sales order is triggered or is initiated and the sales rep matches the condition that we have that equal this value, then the system would initiate an email notifications and send it to the designated recipient as we see in the message template. Further, if you would like to have this set up as a scheduler, as I mentioned briefly in the beginning, from the scheduler tab you can simply set the interval and you can have those notifications emails sent either daily, weekly, monthly, or one time only, depending on what intervals you would like to do. So, for example, if your customer would like to know or to get a notification on weekly basis of all the orders that have been updated, so it's better to set that on a weekly basis on a certain day of the week, or you can set it daily if you want. If you want to notify your sales rep, for instance, of any sales order that have been canceled or modified. So as you can see, the scheduler parameters are really flexible to let you choose the intervals and choose every how long or every what parameters the system will generate those notifications. Finally, once you click next, the system will tell you what action you'd like to use. Again, the default is just sending an email notification. If you just like to alert your customer or to alert your sales rep of certain event and condition, then nothing to be selected from here. Otherwise, you can select a report under the Actions tab, and then the system will let you choose a report to be actually associated with your email notification. So this is again can be unlimited or a flexible way to send your report based on a certain intervals or a certain conditions or events. And you can furthermore go to the option grid related to that report and give it the related or set up the related criteria, give it a report name, and all these parameters will be captured and saved within that request. So again, I'm here just selecting any data for the demo purpose. In the reality or eventually when this module have integration with any report, simply you will need to open the required report. You click on options and you will be able to see the criteria that you'd like to select, and then the system will capture this criteria for you and use it every time you are sending that report. Finally, the last part, which is the output, and then next is the notification. Output in that case would be recommended to be by email. This way, if the system is running based on a schedule, based on a scheduler basis, it will automatically generate the email and send it to the designated recipient based on the message template that you choose. So here the message template role will come in place. It will let you select what message template to use with that request. Automatically the email address and the message subject and body will be filled up for you with the related data objects that you selected. And once you save that parameter, the system will simply save it, memorize it, and run it in the background without any intervention from the user. So the request is there, it's scheduled, and it's placed on hold until the event or the schedule interval are initiated by the system. So this is basically an overview of the features that you will have here within the request builder. And finally, to recap this part, if you would like to run the request or the report only one time, So you simply need to keep it on the default, which is immediate. Immediate would be good in case of large reports or queries. So for instance, you want to run your open to sell report for thousands of styles, or you want to run your inventory report and you have thousands of styles in your database, and the report might take, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. So you can choose the immediate run, and in that case you do not lock your system resources. The system will actually run the report in the background and free up your local machine and your local resources while it's still running in the background. And you can come at any time, you can come up after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc., and you can check by clicking on the request monitor. It will tell you the status of the report, and you can furthermore open up a copy of it after it is saved on the server. So again, the whole advantage of the immediate run, that again, in case of large queries, it lets you run it on the background on our server services, and it does not occupy your machine. You can leave the report running, whatever it takes, 5-10 minutes, and then you can come back after the report is finished. You go to request monitor, and you will be able to see the report, and you can click to open and run it at the time that you want. So this is typically how, or the key features available in the request builder, and as you can see, it can be used again in variety of ways. It can be used as a notification or message alerts, or it can be used as an agent to send and run the report based on a scheduler, and it automatically send it to a designated recipients based on your message template. And this is actually what is indicated here to summarize in this last slide. Setting up automatic event notification in the request builder, it gives you the ability to trigger notification based on events. Events could be a sales order is edited, is cancelled, an invoice is issued, a sales order for a specific customer or for a specific sales rep has been updated. All of these are conditions that you can set up in the request builder, and it will be saved and memorized, and the system will simply run it in the background based on the need. Finally, here, this is one business example of using that request builder, like sending the invoice form whenever a sales order is invoiced for a certain customer. So you can set up that as a request builder or a report request, and it will be sent whenever the criteria or the conditions are met. So this will recap our session today. I'm gonna now open the discussion for anyone if you would like to have any questions.
لازم نعمل
So
voting. بالظبط.
So guys, I'm gonna now open the discussion for everyone. I'll unmute the microphone. So I think some users, some attendees already have sent some text messages. Can you send an email notification for completion dates for style POs? Also, can you have it be sent days before the completion date? Well, this, for that particular scenario, you can play with the criteria or the condition that you have. So if you remember on the screen, I'm gonna go back again to the screen where the conditions are set. If you put event, and in the event section, you can set the intervals based on the sales order completion date, let us say, or based on the style purchase order, if it's in that case a style purchase order, whatever the object is. But the key is to use the right parameter or the right field to filter by. So obviously in that case there is nothing that will automatically detect the current date. You can simply put the add date is greater than certain time. So you need any sales order that have add date greater than or equal, let us say, this month or today's date or whatever. So if that is your condition, whenever the system meets that condition, it will automatically send an email notifications to either your customer or to your vendor. So this is again is how it could be worked around to have the system automatically send triggers or trigger a notification, in other words, based on a certain date. This date could be simply the sales order add date, or it could be the sales order completion date, whatever the case is. So in the example given in the question, I think it's better to use the order complete date. So we need the order complete date. You can put here in between, and in that case we'll put between a certain month. So if you'd like to send a notification, let us say 1 month in advance for your customers or for your vendors, then you will have to create a request for each month, and each month will have the completion date in between the start and the end date of that month. Whenever that event or that condition is met, the system will take the needed action and send the automatic notification to the proper people or to the proper addressees based on the message template. So now I'm gonna I'll move to the next question. Can you show how you would run the order detail report weekly for a specific salesperson? So as I mentioned, this version or this demo is still a beta version, and so far we do not have all the reports available in the system, or in other words, not all the reports are now linked to the request builder. Eventually, when this happens, which I expect should happen in the next few weeks or so, any report available in Aria would be shown in that drop down under the actions menu. So if you choose simply the sales order report and providing that this is the report that you want, when you go to options, that's when the system will open up that report criteria, and you can simply set up the different criteria that you want. Once you click the green check mark, the system will memorize it, and this will be the criteria used for that specific request. So that question was from Mary Garcia. I hope that answers your questions. And again, as of now, this is a beta version. It does not have all the reports, but eventually it will. And any standard report in Aria will be available in the request builder. The next question is, can you show how you would run the order detail report? This is, I think, what I answered about. About a specific date of when the reports will be available, unfortunately I don't have a specific date, but I'm expecting it to be in the near future. So this could be, I mean, weeks or maximum like a month or so from now. But again, this is handled by our developer team, so best practice is you can send an inquiry to our customer care and they will let you know about the due date. But again, as design wise, this engine is designed to have basically any report available to be set up as a request and to be sent based on a scheduler or based on a certain event or condition that you set up. All right, so I think that was the last question from what I see on the chat board. So if no further questions, I'd like to thank everyone for joining today, and I am sure that you will benefit from that new feature and this new module for the request builder in the soon future. So I hope you keep it in your agenda and you will start using it soon. All right, thank you everyone and have a good afternoon.